Welcome into a live Locked On Lions squad show. Jake Riepma with Natalie, Kerwin, and Bradford Banta. Excited to kick off the official first off-season episode. Lots to talk about. Natalie, Kerwin, how are we doing today?
We're doing good, Jake Riepma. I don't know if we're going around the horn here doing some sort of preview, but I feel like we do have a lot to hit on. So I just want to come out and say that I'm excited that we're in the off season now. I feel like this is fun. I feel like this is a little something different than the everyday, like going through the motions of just going through your typical in-season stuff. So I'm ready for it. How about you, Bradford?
Well, I got this to say, Natalie. You know, it's look, if you're mad, good. If you're confused, perfect. But if you still believe in the Lions, then welcome to the show.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
Welcome one, welcome all. It is live Locked On Lions squad show. Jake Riepma, Natalie, Kerwin, and Bradford Banta. What a show we've got lined up. Who will this team's next offensive coordinator be? The big news, John Morton is out, and we will discuss who we expect or hope to see in that all-important offensive coordinator role. We'll also talk a little bit about Taylor Decker's future. Zack Clark, the host of Fourth Down in the Motor City and a sports anchor on WWJ, will join us as well. So a fantastic show lined up, and it's all made possible by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use that code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And just one housekeeping note, this is our off-season schedule. Tuesdays and Thursdays, all live on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network. Whew, deep breath. I think I got it all in there. I'm trying to improve because, listen, Tuesday, there's some long flights there. There were some wrong ad reads, but I think if I'm putting that one on film, I feel pretty good about that. You got the red pointer out of there. Some points I could improve upon, sure, but I think I touched everything.
You're doing good, Jake. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. You got this.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're handling the show. You're keeping the train on the tracks. Sometimes
making the graphics.
Sometimes we get off the tracks sometimes, but that's the point of this show, I think, sometimes too. We got to go off the rails.
Jake, it's all up to us and Natalie and myself just to go off the rails. But I mean, everything that you do, you keep this ship steady. And you keep the rudder running deep, and you just keep us freaking just going right down the straight path, straight and narrow. And we attribute that to you.
Oh, stop.
Riepma.
I was not fishing
He's
for
trying to lift him up now.
Yeah,
oh, I mean, it's amazing what he can do in the short amount of time he has to get things organized. Yeah. And because I know Natalie and I are just running all over the place before we get on this show. Yep. And then whenever he pulls us up, he gives us the what for and just keeps us straight. He plants us in our seat, and he keeps us in one place for a whole complete hour. I don't know what we would do without him.
Well, nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. I'm just trying to maybe hope that the powers that be at Locked On watch this show on Thursday and not last show based on some of the fireable offenses that I committed in that show. So, which is a great shameless plug to go back and watch Tuesday's show, our little season recap.
I was going to say, you didn't need to say that.
Yeah, you didn't need to say that.
Hey,
incriminating evidence.
That's right. What's the statute of limitations on a podcast? Like a couple of days? We should be fine, right? Totally? No.
Let me go check the Supreme Court ruling on that.
All right. I appreciate that. But guys, huge news broke this week. We kind of expected it. The writing was certainly on the wall, but now it's officially official. John Morton out, and this Detroit Lions team is looking for their next offensive coordinator. That's where we begin today. Also, a great reminder, if you're checking out the show live, go ahead and throw your 2 cents out there. We'll mix in some comments as we go along here. But Nat, I kick it to you first. Now that I feel like we can have some closure that John Morton was a one and done, and where you're at, your headspace as far as the future of the offensive side of the ball with the Lions.
Yeah, well, I feel like on Tuesday's episode, when we were talking about it, we kind of put it out into the universe because the news came out, an hour or two after we stopped.
You heard it here first, folks.
Right? So we did, I guess we technically broke the news first, not really, but we said, we all had a feeling it was going to happen, and then it really did come true. So Adam Schefter broke the news that, hey, the Lions did part ways with John Morton after one season. And, we all expected this news was going to happen because throughout the season, the fact that Dan Campbell took over play calling before week 10, mid-season, same thing that happened with Anthony Lynn when he was here with the Lions. You kind of expected this to happen because with a guy like Dan Campbell, who has so many great qualities and so many things that he has to worry about already as a head coach, you don't need him worrying about also calling the plays out there. You need him worrying about being the Dan Campbell that he is, focusing on being a good game manager and being the gritty rah-rah guy and not worrying about so much that's going on. You need a guy you can depend on, like he had in Ben Johnson. Yes, I said his name, but you need someone that you can trust in the booth, on the field, wherever your OC will be, but you need someone that your right-hand man, a guy that you can develop a good relationship with. And I just don't think he had that with John Morton. So this is a move that we saw coming. So I'm not surprised. And that's why I'm interested to see, when we break down these OC candidates, because there's quite a few of them and different routes that the Lions can take with this, whether they go in-house, whether they go with, a seasoned vet, whether they go with someone who's, on the up and coming rise. There's a lot of different paths they can take with this. So I'm curious to see once we, get into who's available, what you guys are thinking. But yeah, I wasn't surprised by the move at all on Tuesday.
No, I mean, obviously none of us were. And, there comes a point in time, and, the last time that John had called plays, I believe it was with the Jets in 2017, I believe is the last time that he called plays. And up until that point, let's see, he was a wide receivers coach. He, offensive senior analyst, senior assistant. And that's the role that, continuing forward, I think that's the role that you'll probably see him in on another staff. Now, he has a relationship with Dan that dates back many, many years. They've worked together before, but just never in this head coach, offensive coordinator role. And it just goes to show that, the communication factor that goes into, calling plays on a weekly basis and the flow of the offense. And it was just something that Dan didn't like at the 8-game point in the season, and he ended up making a change. And you go back and look at history, his past history. If he doesn't like it, especially on the offensive side of the ball, he's going to take over the offensive play calling. And whenever the glasses came out, I believe it was the Commanders game, everybody's like, what's going on here? And and lo and behold, Dan was calling the plays. And did the offense pick up a little bit? It did, but there's still some unofficial. You just go and look at the stats, and look, coaches coach, players play. And if you were to go back and look at each player, and I think we talked about this. If you were to sit each one of the players down, and over the previous seasons, not just this season, you look at the previous seasons. Let's just take the last two, because they were basically that core group of people were here on the offensive side of the ball, minus Ragnow. These guys, the skill players, made the plays whenever it counted most. I think whenever you go back and look at this past season, the skill players are going to be kicking themselves in the behind, saying that, I should have made that play. I should have made that play. Should have made that cut there. I should have caught that ball there. And that's where the players come in to play in making plays. you can dial up the best play you want to, but if it doesn't get executed out on the field, then what good is it? It's just X's and O's. So, but once it starts breathing, that's when it takes on a life of its own.
Yeah, Nat, you made a really good point that was also the subject of not quite a shouting match, but a very spirited debate between my grandfather and I. My grandfather, who's been a 50-plus year season ticket holder, said, give me the most, and we're going to talk about all this, but the brightest offensive coordinator there is. I don't want Dan Campbell calling plays. And I was, again, spirited debate because I think that takes away and I don't disagree. It's a good discussion, but I do think just because Dan Campbell might not be calling plays moving forward doesn't mean he's not capable. I think, and I'm probably just like I'm always a Jared Goff defender. I like to defend Dan Campbell in the sense that he is a brilliant offensive mind, and just be like two things can be true. You can be rah bite the kneecaps and the CEO and still calling plays. And I don't know what direction they'll choose to ultimately go. I envision the more likely scenario is bringing in an offensive coordinator to call plays, but there are examples of guys that do both. Sean McVay's won a Super Bowl doing both. Kyle Shanahan's been really, really close. Matt LaFleur, unfortunately, I hate to give the Packers any kind of credit, but they've been a consistent playoff team. And so I just, and listen, I think my grandpa shares the same belief as a lot of people is get me, I guess, air quotes here, the next Ben Johnson, because that combination worked so well. But what other combination works so well? Us chopping it up with our guy, Zack Clark, the host of Fourth Down in the Motor City and on WWJ. He's coming up next, so don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on a live Locked On Lions squad show on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network. Hey, today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and by now you know the drill. The wild card round is here. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. I wish the Lions were in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack. How about that? A profit boost pack? Are you kidding me? Waiting for them inside the app is your profit boost pack. Each game day, you'll get a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts. You can apply to the bets you like the most. And don't listen to Dave Ramsey. We love sports gambling. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boost you want to apply. The boost you let lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. And don't forget, the boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like. So you make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL game day. He is the host of the Fourth Down in the Motor City podcast. He's my good friend. He's our good friend. And he joins us on a live Locked On Lions squad show. Zack Clark, my man, how are we doing? Thanks for hopping on.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's funny. We started the season talking trash about like the Jags and the Steelers and the Panthers, and now the Lions are watching in the playoffs. we live in a bizarre world, my friends. I don't know what to do with it. Carolina, come on.
Yeah, we
that's the way the NFL likes it, pal.
I know. No, you're right.
But ZC, I wanted to start with ways that I tend to turn to make myself feel better, because I think that's kind of the state that we're in.
Blaming everybody else.
No, I was gonna say
me.
I love that he comes out firing at Jade. That's like the best way to start a segment.
I know, like I'm trying to be on the offensive here, and it's like I just got jammed at the line of scrimmage. I got to readjust here and figure it out. But I was gonna say I usually just eat my feelings away when things go wrong, and I was gonna give you a shout out for your your Lions watch party reviews. I wish I still lived in Metro Detroit to try out some of those places. But what did you get started, or how did you get started doing that? It was awesome.
Well, I think with that one, it was like I was kind of doing this already. And then people, after I did a couple of them, people asked me to come back and do it again. And I said, okay. And then it became a thing. And now I'll be in Natalie's neck of the woods next week at Basan before a Pistons game. So, I mean, we've moved on to the next season. The sports never stop around here.
Wow. Okay, let's go.
I'm here for it.
I gotta let the people know that you're going to be down there.
I'll be there. I can't wait.
Yeah, I was to say that's the usual way where we somehow find a way to fit some Pistons talk in on this podcast. So when you're first in the East, you got to find a way to do that.
It's fantastic. I've been having so much fun watching them. It's just the best.
But Lions news, biggest one of the day, or I guess the week really, and moving forward, and what we've been chopping it up about is who will be this next Lions offensive coordinator. And one thing we haven't mentioned yet, some of the NFL news earlier this morning, Mike McDaniel fired as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, who made his reputation in the league as an offensive-minded guru. And I know it seems like ancient history, but that 2023 Dolphins offense with Tua Tagovailoa and a couple other weapons really set the NFL on fire that he was orchestrating. But when you look at this Lions offense and kind of the future with the coordinating position, what direction do you hope the Lions will go, and just some of the names that are appealing to Zack Clark?
I mean, my first thought is, don't you think everybody that's going to be an offensive coordinator next year that doesn't have a job is banging down the door in Detroit? Who would not want to run this offense with the weapons they have? I know the offensive line's a thing and it's been talked about. It will be talked about, but you should have your pick. You should have whoever you want to be your next offensive coordinator. I mean, I love Mike McDaniel. Could you imagine the press conferences? He is so entertaining. I'll take that right now. I mean, Stefanski, Dayball, Kingsbury, go out and get one of those guys. There's no reason that you can't get a guy like that. But I will say, I've been saying it all season long. I think the next OC is already on the staff. I think it's Scotty. Nobody in that room gets more praise from coaches or players than Scotty Montgomery, and he's coached both now the wide receivers and the running backs. He's done a really good job, and that's why I say go get a Kingsbury, a Dayball, a Stefanski, rehab your image for a season or two, and then bring Scotty up. I think he's moving along nicely, but maybe not right now.
Interesting. So you really think it's going to be someone in-house? Like that's what you think in your gut?
It is. It's all they've done. They've not shown me. Even John Morton technically was in-house. He had been there before. He had relationships with a bunch of those guys. And I wonder if it's not time to break out of that a little bit. If some of the reflection in the offseason is like, we've got a great system. And I think the Lions do a really good job of developing talent in players and coaches. I think it's a really big deal. I think they're very good at it in both ways. But maybe it's time to take a step back and bring in somebody that not only knows what they're doing as an offensive coordinator, but they know what it's like to be a head coach as well, so they can put themselves in Dan Campbell's shoes a little bit here. I don't want them to go in-house, Natalie, but I tend to think they probably will because they've shown me no other reason to think otherwise.
Right. Well, I'm going to throw this one at you just based on when I was reading through all the names of people that were available this morning, and it's just based solely on this fact. But Zach Robinson is interesting to me just because of the connection that he has with Jared Goff when they were both in LA. So Falcons OC, that's technically still under contract, but he technically too has another Detroit connection. He was under Matt Stafford for a season here when he was drafted. He was drafted by the Patriots, but then was under Stafford here for a season, then went and played for the Bengals. So and then started in the coaching world and started with the Rams under Sean McVay, and then was an assistant, QB coach with Jared Goff. So I almost wonder if they have a good relationship from that, if that would play with him being an OC here. So that one was interesting to me when I was just looking at guys as far as proven play callers, under that tier of people. I don't know if that was a name that was interesting to you just based on that fact alone, as far as someone having a relationship with our QB.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Then you bring up a guy like David Blau, who's been a quarterback in Detroit relatively recently. So again, you have all of these different options, but I think if you have all the chips, go spend them, go get it. There's no, it's not like we're in college here and we're talking about, the assistant salary pool. This isn't a problem. So to me, go get the best person you can find. I don't care who it is. I really don't.
Here's one for you, Zach, is just my thought, you kind of talking about reaching out. and getting out of your comfort zone whenever they're, let's say they don't hire inside. But knowing that, let's just say Stefanski's out there and you think that would be, I look at that and it makes sense. Brian Daboll makes sense with the assumption that these guys within 1 or 2 years are going to be getting a head coaching job again. I could see Stefanski definitely getting another head coaching job, given what he's been through at Cleveland and knowing and learning how to do things, but more or less he learned how not to do things in Cleveland. And just his learning there, but then with then behind a closed door meeting Dan has with Scotty is be like, just a nod, wink, wink, be like, hey, this guy's going to get another head coaching job in a year or two. You're going to be our guy in waiting. Start preparing yourself even more now. What do you think about that?
That is exactly what I want. That is 100% what I want. And the sales pitch works for everybody, right? If you're Dan Campbell to, pick your Kingsbury, Daboll, Stefanski, McDaniel, even, and you say, look, come help us win a Super Bowl. Go get your job back, but come help us win a Super Bowl. And if you're Scotty Montgomery, you get to win that Super Bowl and you get to keep learning from another really smart, offensive-minded person. I'm not saying that Morton was dumb by no stretch of the word, but he wasn't a very good offensive coordinator last time or this time. We've decided that he can't do it. He won't get another job doing that again. I guarantee it, at least not in the NFL. So if we can give more tools for Scotty to learn over the course of a couple of years, that is Bradford, exactly what I want. That's what that's what I want.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the thought process. I love the, and then, it also gives your other coaches, just talking about, and another one that's been kicked around talking about hiring internally is Fraley, because he was interviewed last year for the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator job. But it also puts another feather in his cap because he gets to work with another former head coach and learning from that system as well, and just kind of picking his brain throughout the season or 2 seasons, however, one of those big name OCs that would possibly come in. It's an interesting thought process, and it's something that definitely needs to be talked about at Allen Park.
Yeah, and I think we learned this year. I love Hank Fraley, but I think the offensive line took a step backwards, and I know that the shift in retirement and in free agency was really difficult, and the injuries made it harder. But I think more than Scotty Montgomery, Fraley would benefit from exactly what you're talking about. And so I think, again, anytime you bring on a good coach, the whole staff gets better. There's no question.
I agree.
I think that's a good segue into what I wanted to pick your brain next about ZC here on the live Locked On Lions squad show. Just exactly that, the future of this offensive line. Obviously, Taylor Decker, top of mind there. Is it a pipe dream to think maybe Frank Ragnow can come back and the return to the field goes a little bit better than the first time around? But I thought Penei Sewell's comments were pretty telling, just the starting with Taylor Decker, the respect and almost adoration that a lot of this team had for Taylor Decker, and the way they admired the way he just continued to go out and battle. And you kind of, though, at the same time, knowing what we do about Taylor Decker, wonder if there's still 1 year left in the tank. And to your point about continuity and the offensive line needing to take a step forward, I think that's a huge storyline moving forward with this offseason for the Lions.
Yeah, and then that puts you in another spot where, what do you get out of Decker next season? He is a fantastic player. This will be next year, I believe, 11 seasons for him. And is it worth it for him to come back? Obviously, the answer is yes. You mentioned continuity, and he can still play. But at some point, I'm not thinking the Lions will move on from him on their own, I don't think. But at some point, you have to turn the page to the next generation of this offensive line, and he's just not part of it. He's part of the today. Again, I'm not suggesting the Lions cut him, please. But what I'm saying is, I wonder what he really has left in the tank. I know, I'm sure mentally, from a competitor standpoint, he's ravenous, but he really had a hard time this season, and he barely practiced, and he will be a year older, obviously, to start the next season. So but then what do you do, right? If he leaves and then you decide you move on from Glasgow, now you have in 2 years have lost 4 starting offensive linemen. That is, and the good news is the one you didn't lose might be the best one in the NFL, so that's nice. But the Lions are going to have to address the offensive line no matter what happens, I think, in free agency and or the draft. And I think the Lions there are the makings of a good offensive line there. They like Christian Mahogany. Miles Frazier is fascinating. I need to see a lot more of him. They were really excited to get him on day 3. And then with Manu, it's still like, is he part of this? Is he not part of this? But there will be options in the draft for the Lions. I mean, picking 17 is going to be tough if you want a top flight offensive lineman, but they're also out there in free agency too. But then, the people keep saying, well, the salary cap's not real. That's true to a point. But at some point it does become real, right? Can they afford a Tyler Lindenbaum? He's going to be a free agent. He's 25 years old. He plays center for the Ravens. He's excellent. Can they afford that? I don't think so. So I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to have some options.
So then with that being said, with the Lions at pick 17 in this year's draft, you obviously think that's what they need to address right at that pick. Are there any big names that come to mind right now? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but any big college names that you think the Lions should go after at that spot?
And so, yeah, there are a few, but the trick is always going to be, will they be there at 17? There's going to be 16 moving pieces in front of you. And we've seen in the past the Lions be willing and eager to move up and down. But if they stay at 17, right, we're going to hear about the edge. You're always going to hear about the edge forever and ever. Reuben Bain from Miami, Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. Those guys should both be there. And then if you're thinking about offensive linemen, Caden Proctor, Caleb Lomu, Alabama, Utah. Sorry. Those guys should all be there. They're both offensive tackles, but all 4 of those guys should be in that range at 17. And could be likely day 1 starters if that's what the Lions decide to do. And again, who knows what will happen in the draft, but yeah, those are a few names, sure.
I just think that with them, I mean, God, we're talking about something that's going to take place, 4 months down the road.
Yes.
And you're talking about the draft. And I mean, any one of these guys can go out tonight and screw their life up. Or all of a sudden start rising. You're going to have late risers, but you're going to have, whenever the scouts and the coaches start diving into this film, we're talking about edge. Edge is great. I think that can be addressed in free agency. You need somebody who's going to be productive. Now, was Muhammad productive this year? Yes, he was productive this year. How many years has Muhammad been in the league? He's been in the league, 7?
This is
7
9
years.
I think this is 9 for him. Yeah.
You know what? I was on the staff that drafted him at New Orleans. So, and it's just, I think he had the benefit of having Hutch on the other side and getting double and triple teamed and just, being in one-on-one matchups. But in my mind, you need somebody there that can, truly affect. You have to have somebody either in the middle or on the other edge of Hutch to draw the attention away from Aiden, so that either one can make their way home. So, in my opinion, I think that the offensive line in the draft needs to be addressed, because that's how you win games, is in the trenches.
Yeah, and the Lions will tell you that. And I think that that's true for every team. That's how you win football games, but the Lions tend to lean on that even more heavily. And there's no question. I mean, we saw it between this season and last season, or this past season and 2 seasons ago now, I guess. But the engine of this offensive squad is the offensive line. We saw what guys like Jahmyr Gibbs could do on a good day for the offensive line, and we saw what he couldn't do on a bad day for the offensive line. And those both were the same things. They rushed for a lot of yards. And so there's no doubt that not only that was a factor, but pass protection too. Jared Goff is not mobile. We know that, but he can stand there long enough for the most part to make the right choice. And this year that was really tough for him, though. He did have, I think people are harping on him way too much. He had a great season.
Yeah, let Jake chime in here. He's our Jared Goff lover.
I mean,
and don't forget number 1 Brian Branch hater too, because I said we can't have him getting kicked out of games. That was a great bit, ZC. I was verbally crucified for weeks at a time for having the audacity to suggest that he's better on the field than being suspended.
So you can't see it, but off the camera, I've got like one of those gallery walls full of like a dozen pictures, and they're all family pictures, except for there's one of Brian Branch giving the double bird in Green Bay. So I'll send you a picture afterwards, but there's a Brian Branch picture right in the middle of all of it.
Perfect.
That's incredible.
So that's that was so I mean, I love Brian Branch, but look, you hope guys like him, and you talk about what do you do? I mean, do you address some positions in the secondary at some point? We don't know how long that Branch is going to be out, and we just don't know about Curry, right? We don't know what he's going to be like. And so I wonder if the Lions spend not a ton of capital, but, second, third day or down the line in free agency, if they do something there as well, because you just don't know, especially to start the season. You can guarantee they both won't be there. Well, I shouldn't say that with Kirby, but you can guarantee it for Brian.
For sure.
You talk about addressing it, and you talk about Kirby and stuff like that. I mean, you hate to say it, but do you remember the last time Kirby played?
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I will say this. He's leading the team in interceptions.
That's a problem.
That's a major problem. Yeah.
I mean, Aiden Hutchinson led the team in sacks the year he was out for almost the whole season, if not the entire season, and they won 15 games, right? Like,
That coincides with my hot take that those players are better on the field than off. So I can provide the hot takes for everybody here. But DC, this has been awesome, man. We so appreciate it, and we'll get you out the door. I feel bad I haven't mixed in any of the comments here. Bad hosting by me, but here's one from PMill076. We need to pay Mike McDaniels whatever he wants to come be the OC here. Let's go around around the horn, if you will. Agree or disagree, Natalie Kerwin?
I don't know. I'm not sure. No, I don't think so.
Not in on the joggers pulled up to the calf muscle.
I know. That's what my brother and I were talking about that this morning. He's like, you're not all in on joggers, Mike McDaniel going up to the podium.
And ZC, to your point, some of the pressers like, oh man, we just didn't win, man. Bradford Banta, what about you?
Well, it all depends on whether or not they allow vaping on the sidelines inside of Ford Field. I mean, that's that may be the sticking point of the whole contract negotiations if he comes here. But in all seriousness, it's a personality fit. Does he fit with Dan? I mean, and Dan could, it's a personality fit. And does it work for Dan? Does he trust him enough? That's what I think. What do you think, Zach?
Well, let me just say this. You can vape in the bathroom. Don't ask me how I know that.
Okay.
You can vape in the bathroom at Ford Field. It's fine.
You only know what you see, right? You only know what you see.
I can only, I was trained as a journalist. I can only, it is what it is. I say it. Give him all the money, but only if he comes as still South Beach Mike. He's got to come dressed the exact same way, the glasses and everything. But
Not San Francisco Mike.
Look, I will take any version of the best offensive coordinator they can get, and I think he'd be one of them. So, yeah, for me, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I love it. All right, ZC.
Wait, what did you say?
What do you think?
What the hell was that? Nice try, dude.
Yeah.
Putting me on the spot. You guys want to know what I think? This is great. I'm all in on Mike McDaniel. I was covering and air quotes covering that Dolphins 2023 team for a former employer that shall remain nameless, and it was fun watching Tua Tagovailoa and Devon Achane. And at that time, before Jalen Waddle kind of went down a path, and obviously Tyreek Hill and everything else, I think I have visions of that line of that Dolphins team turning into the 2026 Lions team offensively with some of the similar weapons. So I'm all in on it. Does that suffice? That's good enough.
That's a good explanation. We always like to hear your opinion.
All right, ZC, this has been awesome. 4th down in the Motor City, WWJ. What else we got? Watch parties, all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, man, you can follow me on Instagram, the Brewman Chew. But I'm always around somewhere doing something.
I love it. Zack Clark, we'll for sure have you back on for some more off-season fun. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining us.
Take care, y'all. Thank you.
There he goes. We'll continue with this episode of the Live Locked On Lions Squad Show. Coming up, we'll talk a little more Taylor Decker, that offensive line, and probably more offensive coordinator conversation. That's next on a Live Locked On Lions Squad Show. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends over at Rocket Money. Rocket Money. Listen up. Here we go. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control, and who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in. It's the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels. That's a big one, folks. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I was shocked when Rocket showed me I was paying for 2 Hulu accounts. Can you believe that? What in the world? Not so fast, my friends. Completely forgot about that, and it saved me some money. I love how it tracks all my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service numbers. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And just in case you forgot, it's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, Zack Clark. Rocketmoney.com/lockedon, Mr. Bradford Banta.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm going to have you self-produce and coordinate one episode and read all the ads and make all the graphics and post the audio version, which is a great reminder that the audio version,
as long as it's under your name, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yes. Well, you cut me off my my shameless plug. The audio version of today's episode will be available wherever you get your podcasts on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network, because we learned the hard way how important that audio version is. Got to get the MP3 file downloaded and uploaded to all of your podcast platforms. But thanks for having our thanks to Zack Clark for hopping on the show. It's always a blast to chat it up with him and hear his perspective.
Yeah, he's great. He's so funny. I feel like he's always got just a load of knowledge and things to say, and he's got like just good perspective on everything. So I appreciate having him on, you know what I mean? And best part obviously of the entire 20 minutes we had him on was the Brian Branch photo and his family photo wall. What? Imagine coming to his house or apartment, wherever he lives, and going, wow, look at these great photos, and and all of a sudden you see Brian Branch with the double bird in the middle of it all. That's hilarious right there. I couldn't stop laughing.
I would like to look at that man's calendar and just see how full it is. So it seems like he is anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
On the move. Yeah. Joining, doing a little Pistons action, which is awesome. They won again last night, beating the Bulls, right?
Yeah, they did. Yep. They did. Isaiah Stewart, career high, 31 points.
That's why I was getting some tweets about Isaiah Stewart, because maybe I was a little bit critical of Isaiah Stewart in a past life. 20, it would have been 20, last season when he wasn't as good as this season. I'll put it that way. So hey,
you're talking about the Eastern Conference Defensive Player of the Month right now, my guy. You want to go down that road? We can go down that road.
I love it. Well, hey,
step back. I'm going to take a seat and let y'all two.
Talk to Locked On. They canceled the NBA postgame shows, so now I can't scream into a microphone about how much I love the Detroit Pistons. So
I know
it's a major bummer.
They should bring
I know.
All right, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, I'll give you the boss's numbers, and you can campaign on my behalf. But I wanted to keep it rolling with. I think the Taylor Decker conversation is good. Brought it up with Zach, obviously, but to take a deeper dive on it, Bradford, I would love your perspective on maybe taking us into the mind of Taylor Decker as best you can as a past, as a former player. You obviously dealt with that. When it's, I guess, quote unquote, time to hang it up. And when I still got gas left in the tank, and what he might be kind of grappling with right now.
Yeah, my situation was just a little bit different. The phone stopped ringing. But I've had friends that have been in that situation where they've hung it up, and sometimes the timing's right, sometimes the timing's wrong. And the thing that Taylor has to go through and ask the question in his mind is, you got to put out the pros and cons, and he has to do it internally first, and he has to ask himself these tough questions and has to give brutally honest answers to. And then you have to go with the family. There's a lot of things that are involved because you don't want to have a Ragnow type situation come up in the middle of next season, meaning, hey, we need you. Can you go? And you get up off the couch real quick, and then you get a grade 3 hamstring strain. That's your body telling you, no, you're not ready to go. I don't know if whenever I gave that explanation of what I thought Decker was on Tuesday, were we on air or was it after the broadcast? Do y'all remember drinking the radiator?
We were on air. I thought.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No,
We were on air. Okay. And that's kind of how I thought he got through the season, because I didn't see him spending a huge amount of practice time. He got through just on sheer will. And that's where the body breaks down before the mind does. And you have to take all of that into consideration. And then you have to think about not only today, but you have to think about your future. And, let's just say obviously he's in his 30s. Buddy, you got another 30 to 40 years to live. And then do you want to walk around? Do you want to be able to, and the question I always ask myself, I wanted to be healthy enough to be able to run around with my kids. And it's life's simple pleasures. And that's the question he has to ask himself. And you would speculate that he has set himself up financially to where he can do what he wants. Let's just say that. And he doesn't have to beat the street to look for a job or anything. I'm sure he has a permanent residence, and he's already started establishing roots in that community. And it's going to be a tough decision for him, and you want him to make the decision, and you don't want the organization to make the decision for him. And that's where you have to have conversations between the club and the agent with the club, and the agent with the player, and the player with the club. And long story short, if he makes it through another complete season, I would be very, very surprised. I've used the term on here, leaking oil. Well, I think the plug in his oil pan has been pulled, and his engine may be running very, very hot because just the amount of fluid in that body is not there. And you hate to say it, but I mean, that's the facts, because he has seen the lows and he's also seen the highs at this organization. And you hope in some way, shape, or form, if he wants to, the Detroit Lions organization can keep him involved in some way, somehow. But that's only if he wants to. But I just don't see it, guys. I don't see him playing next year, just from what he went through this past year and just seeing how he struggled. And it seems to be an ongoing issue with his shoulder more than anything. And it's you break out the needle and thread, you break out the tape, and then you break out the quick drying adhesive to keep everything, moving in one direction. So we'll see.
It really did feel like patchwork to keep him put together this year. And for those who didn't hear exactly what he said to the media on how he got through this season, I wanted to read to you guys what exactly he did during the week during practice. So essentially what he did behind the scenes to be able to play this season, he said he had 4 meetings every day, couldn't practice a lot, 6 to 7 different injections, steroids, he said, between, gel injections, acupunctures, all during the week. He would do red light therapy, hyperbaric chamber, stem machines. And then at night, he would go home, put his kids to bed. He'd get in bed around 9:30, wake up at 6 a.m., go back to the facility, do it all again. And then he got super emotional. And to your point, Brad, about, guys wanting to, players wanting to be able to throw the ball with their kids, after they retire, and being around their family and making that their number one priority. He started to tear up because that's where he feels like this year that got away from him a little bit. And he said, my wife sacrificed so much of her time to help me be able to have this kind of season this year with all of that in mind. It was selfish of me, and I felt like I distanced myself a lot from my family this year, and I don't want to have that again. So that's going to be a lot of, decision making for me this offseason, meetings with Brad and Dan, and, I want to be able to have that time with my kids. So just to put it in perspective for everybody, that is what Taylor Decker's weeks looked like, which doesn't sound very fun every day at the facility. And when Penei Sewell talked about it as well, he's like, what that guy went through, what you guys don't see behind the scenes is a heck of a lot. And I feel bad for him. And he's a warrior is how he described it.
No, I couldn't agree more with you, Nat, because I've seen it firsthand. And what I think John Q. Public just doesn't get is the amount of work that each player puts into them getting themselves ready just to perform on Sundays. And it doesn't happen just during the season. It starts, let's say you take a couple weeks off in January, and then it starts then, because your body, you don't understand the ramifications of, let's put it bluntly. I mean, it's a 20-game season if you don't go to the playoffs. So you're talking about, and then on top of that, with training camp out there practicing, there's a lot of physical abuse that goes onto the body, and you are looking to take any means possible to get your body prepared, because the mental side of it you can handle. Your mind is a very powerful thing. The physical side, your body can only take so much. And the hyperbaric chamber, you're talking about getting up at 5:30, 6 a.m., going to the complex, and probably leaving every day at probably, I'd say, 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then you're getting home. And it starts to wear on you, and it's not for everybody. But the guys that do it, it is hats off to them.
Yeah. And I'm going to tie a bow on it this way. My memory may not be exactly accurate on this, so please help me out. But when I vividly remember when the Lions first won the NFC North in the 2023 season in Minnesota, and to your point, Nat, I don't know, again, this is just going off memory, but I think he was the only original draft pick that was playing, significant minutes or whatever you want to call it. And for him to stand the test of time, drafted in the first round in 2016, and for lack of a better term, the hell that he went through and saw and stuck it out to then see it through on the other side. It's a great story of resilience. So if this is in fact the end, I think he deserves to be up there with, all-time Lions and just kind of a face of the franchise and a face of this era over the last, better part of over a decade.
For sure. I mean, he's put his all into it. I forgot about that. He was the only guy that I do remember that now, that it was he's the one that's stuck through the ringer, through all the tough times. And it was especially emotional for him when the Lions were able to win the North. And I remember, it's coming back to me now, the interview I think he did with Stacey Dales of the NFL Network.
Yeah.
And she had grabbed him on the sidelines and asked him about it. And he was, he was just gleaming and gloating about it. So now it's coming back. But yeah, I mean, God, he's been around, Father Time, I guess we could call him. He's been around forever. So, if this was his last season, he's standing on his last leg at this point, quite literally, his last arm, because his one arm, obviously, his one shoulder is barely put together. I mean, he said it too. He's like, I can't throw a football with my kid, which is just heartbreaking. And I think when you're at that point, I think you really need to, I mean, he's already looking at himself in the mirror going, I don't know if I can proceed forward at this point. So I won't be surprised if he decides to hang it up. So, but he's had a great career here in Detroit, and we're lucky that we've had him for as long as we have.
For sure, gave it his all. All right, let's tie a bow on this this episode and talk. We'll kind of change gears. We've had the sentimental segment. Let's have a little fun, just the same way Amon-Ra St. Brown had a little fun at the expense of some of the rookies. That's next on Live Locked On Lions Squad show. But first, today's episode is made possible by the ultimate QB football legend. Hey, guys, the draft picks positions are set, and so many teams are looking for their franchise quarterback. Have you ever wished to become a pro quarterback? Getting drafted first overall by your favorite team? Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called the Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number one draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness. Help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number one QB career mode game on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. Sign contracts, train and upgrade yourself, build chemistry, and evolve your teammates. Give input to your GM on roster moves, play the actual games in 2D, and rise through the ranks to become a pro football legend. You'll deal with the ups and downs of a quarterback's career, from rookie nerves to playoff drama, and every choice shapes your journey. The Ultimate QB is totally free to play, has no ads, and works 100% offline. Perfect for when you want to sneak in a quick game or two on the go. So just head over to the ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimateqb.com, or search Ultimate QB in your app store, and we've got something special just for you. Use that promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, LOCKEDON, in the game store to get a free boost to start off your career. Ultimate QB, football legend, QB1, it's your legacy. Ooh, that one's tough.
Jake, I've always dreamed of being a quarterback, so that was inspiring.
I got through the whole thing.
You did.
Well, we know what Jake's going to be doing for the next 23 hours of his day.
Trying to experience the highs and lows of the rookie.
The question is, are you going to wear your helmet while you're doing it? That's what I asked.
That would have been even better. Gosh, if only we knew that was the ad read.
No,
Come on, Jake.
Every helmet I've got, though, has got like the full bar. So like that's not very quarterback.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah.
You know? Oh man.
Gotta rock with what you got.
That's true. That's true. All right. Closing it out with the rookie pranks. I love this kind of stuff. And it was on social media. If you haven't seen it, I'll go ahead and give away kind of the ending. Basically, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Nat helped me with exactly how it all played out. But they shared a rookie prank that they played on the rookie wide receivers. So Isaac Tesla, among others, when they all went out for steaks at the Sexy Steak in Detroit. I think it's the name of it. I mean, I'm not a fine diner.
Fantastic restaurant, by the way.
Okay, there
is
you go.
Is it really? You know, my daughter went down there. Yeah, like
really?
A couple weeks ago. Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
So.
Well, did she spend $40,000, because that's what the receipt said that they brought out for the rookies to pay for, which is just an incredible prank in and of itself. But it turns out the actual bill was closer to $4,000, but they had the fake receipt and everything. So I love planning some pranks on the rookies. Great for team morale, team chemistry, and everything else. Bradford Banta, did you ever have a rookie prank in your time in the NFL?
Oh, yes, we did. So we had a few.
Okay.
So the one, so we went out to a rookie dinner, and this rookie had the gall after the dinner to ask all the vets that were sitting at the table. He's like, "Hey, let's play credit card roulette to see who pays for the dinner." We're like, "Yeah, sure. Where's yours?" We just automatically just pick his. Here, you pay for it. But no, the the rookie dinner is a time-honored tradition, and you can have as much fun with it as you want. And the thing in there's tiers to it, right? And if you're very fortunate to have a high draft pick who's making a fair amount of money, you can have a pretty good night if you want to. So, but it's all fun. And what they did was it Tesla, Meeks, and
Levette.
Yeah, and Levette. I think it's fantastic because they get their feet wet throughout the whole season, and then they think they've arrived, right? And then they're presented with something that they have never been a part of. And you start ordering these, oh gosh, I can't even think of what is the most expensive shot. It's like a $3,000, $4,000 shot that they have at all the high-end restaurants. It's I can't think of it, but they have this liquor that is just, and I've seen where vets have like, all right, give me the bottle. And you just look over at the rookie and you see the heart and the jaw just drop because they know that bottle is probably worth about 30 to 35 grand. And they're just like, you gotta be kidding me. So, but what you do is, you get a similar type bottle and you put apple juice or something like that. And you bring it into the restaurant ahead of time. You know where you're going. You put apple juice in it, and then you start just pouring shot after shot after shot, and you don't give it to the person who's paying for it. You just make them watch everybody else drink it. Everybody else is in on the prank, and then everybody's like, "Yeah, give me another." And you pour another, and you're just like, you start doing the math in your head, and you're just like, holy cow. In a matter of 2 minutes, we've drank about $25,000 worth of stuff. So, but it's, the rookie dinner is fun part. I think I've shared with y'all whenever the rookies get back at the vets. Have I shared that story with y'all?
No, because I think Isaac Tesla and the rest of the rookie wide receivers really owe, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they owe him a fast one, I think.
Yeah. So here's one that we used to do. So, and this was back in the early, early to mid 90s. And back then they didn't have the cafeteria in all the complexes. So we used to have our lunches brought in by a restaurant, and it was just a couple of days a week. But every morning, the rookies were expected to bring in bagels and donuts and newspapers. You remember what newspapers are? I know that's pre-2000, and I've been warned not to give that on. But anyway, so we bring in these bagels and donuts, and if the vets started giving the rookies too hard of a time while we were in the locker room or anything like that. So I was drafted with Marshall Falk, and everybody else would bring in donuts from, let's just say, Meyer. Marshall would bring in the Krispy Kremes. He would bring them in every Saturday. And so, but if the vets started messing with us too much, we would take about 3 or 4 of those donuts out of the box, and Marshall would show up early, and we would dip them down into the paraffin. Paraffin's the hot wax, and they were glazed donuts, and you couldn't tell the difference.
Oh.
No way.
Yeah, and you couldn't tell the difference. and whether it was glazed or just hot wax on it. And then you would put them back into the box. Then you would just sit there and just wait. You would sit there and just wait for somebody to yell out, just cursing their mind out. And they're like, who brought the donuts in? And Marshall would look at, hey, I brought them in. I don't know who touched them. And then they would go around to all. Yeah, you just happen to get a bad one. I don't know. You got to go take it up with Krispy Kreme right now.
Oh my gosh.
That's good. I love it. I love it.
So,
what a way to end this edition of the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Guys, we'll have lots more off-season episodes as we continue to follow this team, who the next offensive coordinator will be, what the future of certain players are, and everything in between. So I guess, some housekeeping. Next show, Tuesday at noon. We'll keep that schedule as consistent as possible. Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon. Make sure you check out the Daily Show with Matt Derry as well. And maybe we'll get him on a show as well. Final words, Bradford Banta, Natalie Kerwin, before we sign off.
Nat, please lead the way.
Well, I hope I'm never pranked on a bill for $41,000. Or I'd freak out. So I'm
that FanDuel money.
Happened.
Come on, you got the sideline reporter FanDuel money.
We're not gonna go with that, but
she just flies private. That's all. Don't worry about it.
Right.
All right. On to you, Bradford.
No, I'm curious to see what the offseason holds for the Lions.
Yep.
And the moves that are going to be made, because changes have already started happening. And it's important that they put all their chess pieces in the right order, and all the moves that are made for the betterment of the team.
For Bradford Banta, Natalie Kerwin, I'm Jake Riepma. Thanks so much for watching. Check out the audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll talk to you Tuesday.